opinion, of this Democratic primary, and the establishment wing of Joe Biden, and they put together unity task forces that will have a direct hand in shaping Democratic policy in the party's agenda in 2020 and beyond, is how it's phrased in Vox. The group of 48 lawmakers and labor leaders, economists, academics, and activists signal what the Democratic Party wants to look like heading forward. So Sanders' allies seem encouraged about the names on the task force, which include vocal proponents for progressive policies like Medicare for All and a Green New Deal, like Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's going to be heading up the Climate Change Committee, I believe, along with John Kerry. Pramila Jayapal is going to be heading the Healthcare Committee. And Sarah Nelson, Stephanie Kelton, they're going to be on those. Some Bernie Sanders people are going to be on that as well. So just to give you the full quick list here. Climate change is going to be Kerry and AOC. For Bernie Sanders on criminal justice, it's going to be Sharag Baines, who is leading that. Stacey Walker. I should just probably tell you the major names here. Simone Sanders is going to be on it for criminal justice. Sarah Nelson and Stephanie Kelton from, I guess, Team Bernie. Sarah Nelson is the head of the Flight Attendants Union, been a big fighter for labor rights and Medicare for All during this. But she's mostly going to be focused on the economy. Stephanie Kelton, proponent of modern monetary theory, is on the economy committee as well. And you also got healthcare, Pramila Jayapal, and Dr. Abdul El Sayed, who's a former Michigan gubernatorial candidate back in 2018. And in immigration, we have not really any major notable names, but this is kind of an outreach program. I guess it's kind of I'd say it's kind of relatively weak. It's it's very easy to just shut these people out of a process entirely. I don't think it's very concrete, although it is. I will give the Biden campaign that it is a gesture in the right direction. Just so everyone knows, it would be a good idea, Christian, just give the people an idea of like where you stood in the primary, and then kind of get into like what you think of this move by Biden and Sanders.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess going into the primary until the end, honestly, I don't think I ever definitively supported one candidate over the other. There were aspects of certain candidates that I liked for sure. I was definitely a Bernie supporter for a while. I liked Andrew Yang in the beginning. That quickly fell off. And then towards the end, I started to like Biden a bit as well. So politically, I would say I'm probably a pretty moderate Democrat. I wouldn't necessarily call myself progressive, but I understand support certain parts of the progressive agenda, with exceptions being things like Medicare for all and free education. So yeah, that's basically where I stand. In terms of whether this was a good move or not, I would say that this was definitely a good and smart move by Joe Biden. And I think it was important. I think it shows progressives that there were a lot of course, Bernie or bust people coming out of this primary, and it shows them that Biden is definitely willing to work with progressives going forward. And I think it adds another reason as to why previous Bernie supporters should definitely support Biden in the general election, because he will be pushing a lot more of their agenda than Trump will.
Yeah, that is definitely something for sure that is, I think, that makes sense. But my position has kind of always been about when it comes to voting strategies for former Bernie Sanders supporters. Like, if you are in a non-swing state, if you're in a safe state, like I say you vote like whoever you want to. Like personally, if I were in New York and if I could vote, I don't know if you can vote, Krishna, in this upcoming.
Yeah, I will be voting.
Okay, so yeah, in the safe states, I totally get if you don't want to vote for Biden. But if it were me in a swing state, I would probably vote for. I definitely would vote for Biden. But I do get, as a Bernie Sanders supporter, you not wanting to vote for Biden because especially with some of the recent allegations we've seen from Tara Reid and the way he's kind of dealt with Bernie Sanders supporters in general. Like, I mean, I really find this hard. This is not like any kind of administration picks. This is just a task force that could maybe decide policy sometime in the future. It doesn't seem very concrete to me. I just think the way that Joe Biden has dealt with Bernie Sanders supporters, really the way the entire Democratic Party has dealt with the left, has just been kind of just get out of my face through this whole time. Mm-hmm. My read on it.
Yeah. So yeah, I see where you're coming from, and I think maybe I would understand not voting for Biden as a Bernie supporter in super safe states, but at the same time, that's kind of a huge wave that happens. You're never really sure what's a safe state and what's not. So I honestly think it would be best to vote for Biden, and I understand definitely the sentiments of Bernie or bust people, but at the end of the day, I am completely convinced that Joe Biden is, one, a better person than Donald Trump, and two, will do a lot more for Democrats and for progressives than Donald Trump will do. And to add one last thing on top of that, I think that if you are a progressive, right, that all that means is that you agree with kind of the general ideas of the Democratic Party, but to a more extreme extent. And a lot of progressives talk about how much they care about people that are being, let's say, illegal immigrants who are being separated from their families or other things like that, right? And I would say that if you're not voting for Biden in this situation, regardless of what you think of him as a human being, you're doing a disservice to the people that can be very much affected by a Trump presidency over a Biden presidency.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely kind of, and I think another big incentive to vote for Biden is like the courts. Will he have control over the courts? But
100%.
What I look into it is like, what will Joe Biden actually push for? It's easy to say that he's going to do the standard Democratic model. But he's not coming in really with any major policies, kind of in the same way, very worryingly so, that Hillary Clinton did. Like when Obama came in, he knew what he wanted to do. He was like, the biggest thing right off the top that I want to do is healthcare, right? Like getting that Affordable Care Act passed, which is something that he did.
Biden want to do stuff with healthcare as well, right?
Very much watered down. But like in terms of a landmark proposal, in terms of like why he's running, if you look at why he's running, it's A, to stop Donald Trump, and B, kind of act like, as he said this is himself, like a caretaker, like bridge type of president leading into the next generation of new Democrats. So when it comes to like how hard he's going to fight for these policies, or really how he's going to push for anything, I mean, I don't know. I kind of question his drive, I guess you could say.
I mean, I guess my general policy is always that some progress is better than no progress. And when we're looking at our current situation, where on basically every front, when we look at climate change, when we look at healthcare, when we look at education, we're seeing that the Trump administration essentially wants to completely reverse everything that progressives want, whereas Joe Biden is at least a step in the right direction. Like right now, the head of the EPA is a climate change skeptic. Like with Joe Biden, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Furthermore, hopefully Joe Biden picks a progressive as a VP, which I think he probably will, which will probably create some momentum for progressives.
Who do you think that would be?
I wouldn't really know as of right now. I guess I have to see. Not too sure. I think it's going to be a woman for sure, though.
Yeah. I think it's in all likelihood going to be Kamala Harris, who is not going to be, or Kamala. I'd say probably Kamala or Amy Klobuchar. But I've heard more articles saying Kamala than Klobuchar. I think Elizabeth Warren, at this point, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, probably not going to happen. But I think Kamala Harris and Amy Klobuchar are both great options, to be honest. Well, of course, it's bias coming from me because I'm more moderate. But I definitely, again, think they're going to help the progressive agenda 500 times more than Donald Trump's campaign would.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do see what you're saying with that. But again, like in terms of policies, for example, you mentioned the immigration policy. Like a lot of those cages, like the thinking back to the Obama administration when that picture of kids in cages was circulated, that picture like was from the Obama administration.
Yeah,
like, there's no denying that. Like, I think that Biden and Obama, through the really deporter in chief policy that Obama did, like they laid the groundwork for Trump to come in and take it to a whole new extreme and awful level.
Of course, yeah, and I agree with that. There was like the ACLU lawsuit. When was it? 2014, 2015, maybe. Which basically talked about all of the horrible conditions under Obama's presidency, right? And I think obviously that's not good, but again, like you have to look at it as if you're either getting what we had before or maybe a slightly better version of what we had before because of how much momentum the progressive side has had recently. Or on the other hand, you're having the complete opposite and you're endangering, in my opinion, lives of many people by allowing a Trump presidency, especially if you believe in progressive ideals. Like, in my opinion, you should be thinking that as a progressive, you should be thinking that it is completely like wrong what Trump is doing. And while it is still wrong what Biden would be doing, it's a lot less wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I think their onus should be definitely on the Biden campaign to come out and sway a lot of those people who I think are very sympathetic to what you're saying. I know I am. Like, I know the awful stuff that could happen under a Trump second term. But there's a lot of people who have, I think, felt really, really pissed off and really kind of and so especially with the way that Bernie Sanders went down with that kind of last minute establishment aided kind of coalescing around Joe Biden in the wake of South Carolina heading into Super Tuesday.
So, but what do you think they're going to achieve by not voting? Or what do you think they're going to achieve by voting for someone else, like a third party?
Well, I think the case for that is as there's a video that came out just after Bernie Sanders dropped out of the young Lawrence O'Donnell, who is now an MSNBC host, in the position of when he used to work for the Democratic Party, in which he said, we didn't have to take the left seriously because we knew in the end of the day they're always going to come back and vote for us. Like, where else were they going to go? This, I think, although it is a really awful situation, and it's probably like I still would vote in a swing state. I would vote for Joe Biden, but you kind of have to be willing to like at least use your own leverage, like use your own weight. You know what I'm saying? That's the case that I've seen in terms of voting for someone else or not voting for Joe Biden.
Yeah. And again, a quick clarification to what I was saying earlier. I'm not saying that any of that is like my viewpoint necessarily, in terms of saying that like, oh, I believe that it's going to be so much worse under Trump's presidency than under Biden's. But I was just kind of assuming the viewpoint of a progressive from my understanding.
Yeah. I definitely do agree with that. And hopefully, no matter who gets into office, they at least put some kind of rein on Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, because
I'm going to have to dispute that one.
Yeah, this is what we'll talk about. And I think this would be kind of a perfect subject for you to talk about because I'm pretty sure you have some opinions on this. So Amazon, they've repeatedly referred to their workers as heroes for this pandemic stuff, right? Like the frontline workers, that's so awesome, that's great. The company announced this week that they were planning to end both a $2 an hour pay increase and double overtime for warehouse workers at the end of May, even though Jeff Bezos sees his wealth continue to soar through this pandemic. He could, by 2030, be the world's first trillionaire. By the way, Whole Foods, the Amazon-owned supermarket chain, informed employees Tuesday that their hourly raises will be ending on June 1st. When Amazon announced the first wage hike, it was set to run through the end of April. Amazon later extended the policy through May 16th. Now the increases will end on May 31st. And honestly, they've also engaged in a lot of union busting as well. They fired that guy in like Staten Island, I believe it was, for trying to form a union. And it's just a really bad situation all around. So what do you think of this?
Yeah, so to start, I would like to just basically summarize what I think about billionaires and then what I think about minimum wage. So I'm